All right, guys, welcome back. Another video of 3 tech defensive tackles, and we're now on to the second round prospects, starting with Darius Alexander. Darius Alexander, tricky one to figure out. Toledo, so smaller school. Also already 25 years old when the season starts. So you're talking about a much older prospect than most guys you get this high up in the draft. Pretty well sized, 6'4", a little bit tall, 305 pounds. Pretty long arms, 34-inch arms. You like to see that. Relatively big hands too, I guess. Tested well for the most part. His 20-yard shuttle was bad, but fast, quick, explosive. The stuff you want to see in a guy of this size, I think. And the big boards mostly all put him in the second. PFF puts him in the last pick of the first. The aggregate puts him in the mid-second. That seems to be about where people are settling on him. Pretty decent production the last couple years for Toledo. 76 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, 7.5 sacks, 8 passes batted down. That's good. And ton of pressures. Lot of pressures. Over 80 total pressures over the last 2 years. And monster PFF grades. So the thing about Darius Alexander that stands out is his versatility. I think he'll be good against the run, and I think he'll be a good pass rusher as well. He's good at working his way through blockers and shedding them. He's got the long arms, and he's able to use his moves to get off of his blockers, get to the ball, shoot into the backfield, and go disrupt the play. He's a high-level athlete as well for his size, as the testing numbers proved. And he's also very quick coming off the ball at the snap. We always talk about that, who's the first out of his stance at the snap and who's last. Darius Alexander is typically one of the guys who is first off the ball. He's got good lateral agility, so he can move down the line, chasing a stretch play, chasing a play to the outside, even pursuing plays that are maybe like screen passes and stuff. And he uses his long arms well, man. 34-inch arms. He uses them well to shed blockers, keep guys off of him, make sure his punches land first. So Darius Alexander bringing a lot of positive things to the table. Now, his height does come back to hurt him. 6'4", and sometimes he looks it, so he loses the leverage game too much. He doesn't know how to sink his hips all the time. And he's got to really learn how to sink his hips, or else the NFL is going to eat him up. He's already just average weight anyway. He's sometimes a little bit slow. Sometimes it seems like he's a little bit, I don't know, a lack of motivation. Sometimes it does seem like there's a little bit of lackadaisicalness. His advanced age is a concern with him. 25 years old. That means there's less room for him to improve. At least that's how you would typically read that. So at 25 years old, you do have to wonder about that. By the way, I think this was a typo. I didn't mean to say lackadaisical out of his stance. I meant to just kind of say a little lackadaisical. Sorry, guys. I'm looking at a lot of players lately, and sometimes my scouting reports get a little mixed up. But yeah, a little lackadaisical, I feel like, is a bit of a concern with him. He doesn't offer much of anything special with his pass rush skills. His pass rush skills tend to be pretty straightforward right now. He needs to develop moves. He needs to actually become a better finisher. Like, we're talking about 80 pressures and less than 8 sacks. That's not exciting. That tells me you're getting opportunities to bring the quarterback down and you're not cashing in on them. So the age is concerning, and it does hurt. This guy would probably be a first-round pick if he was 21. But I think he'll be a fit for any defensive line, 3-4, 4-3, whatever you want to do. His length and his skills are valuable. So middle second round, I think, is about right. That's where the aggregate has him. That's where I'm going to put him. Middle second round for Mr. Alexander in my book. Okay, moving along to Tyleik Williams, Ohio State. 22. National champion. Very, very heavy. One of the heavier 3 techs we'll look at. 334 pounds. 6'3". Arms are very short. Concerning, for sure. Big boards mostly put him in the second. Walter has him in the first. Draft Network has him in the third. Aggregate has him in the second. And that seems to be about where he's settling. Production's been good the last couple years. He's got almost 100 tackles over the last 2 years. That's really good for a big 3 tech. A lot of plays in the backfield. Not a lot as a pass rusher, if we're being honest, but that's not really the skill set we're zeroing in on here. And that kind of provokes an interesting conversation with Tyleik Williams. So I'll say this, Tyleik Williams has the size to potentially offer nose tackle reps. You look at him and you're like, that looks like a nose tackle to me. So on a fundamental level, Tyleik Williams may end up even being a better nose tackle than a 3-tech. We'll see. I'll talk more about that in a second here. He's got big time pop in initial contact off the snap. He goes from stance to contact very harshly. Makes a lot of plays on the ball carrier in the run game as well for a bigger guy. He's frequently in the backfield, frequently bringing the ball carrier down. And that's something that you don't always see. And he does move decently for a guy his size. He's got the movement skills to work against outside runs as well. So he's not just a big dude in the middle who can move. He's not. Which is why I do suspect that he does offer enough to be a 3-tech. Now, the issues, and this is where things get a little bit complicated with Tyleik Williams, and it's a little hard to figure stuff out. He's not that tall, but he sometimes plays standing straight up and loses leverage because of it. So he's got to learn how to sink his hips. He doesn't have a lot of value as a pass rusher. I mean, even for an Ohio State team that was frequently playing with the lead, he has 42 combined pressures over the last 2 years. Not good. Not good enough for you to be a featured rusher. That's what are we talking about there? Is that even... Yeah, that's well under 2 pressures a game. And he doesn't have the length or strength to do a lot of nose tackle work. So that's kind of the contradiction here. Tyleik Williams looks like a nose tackle, but I don't think he really is a nose tackle. His arms are too short, and he's not strong enough. I think maybe this guy needs to get a little stronger so he can be a nose tackle. Right now, I think he's like a run-stuffing 3-tech, as weird a concept as that is. So it's a little bit frustrating, honestly. I do think he can add a lot of value. He's going to be great against the run. Not saying anything bad about him in that regard. I do think a run-stuffing 3-tech has a place in the world. And he's not a terrible rusher. He's going to offer a little bit. But late second round is about as high as I can go. I don't know. I was a little bit frustrated with what I saw with Tyleik after really taking a look at it. It feels like he should be a nose tackle, but it also feels like he's not going to be able to cut it. So I don't know. I'm kind of in the I kind of feel like he's in a little bit of a limbo. But like I said, a run stuffing 3-tech has value in the world and is going to be a good part of your defense. So mid-second round, yeah, I'll take a rotational defensive lineman in the mid-second round or late second round, excuse me. All right, one more guy for this video. It's TJ Sanders. TJ Sanders, South Carolina Gamecock. He's 22. He's lean, 6'4", but sub 300 pounds, arms average, hands pretty big, I guess. Tested decently. He's explosive. Change of direction skills, a little bit lacking, I guess, but not too bad as a specimen. Every big board that I use has him in the second, but the aggregate has him in the third. So that very early third. I wouldn't read a lot into that. So that tells you the smaller big boards are dragging him down a little bit. 93 tackles, 17 for loss, 8.5 sacks over the last 2 years, 60 total pressures. So good production, not crazy over the top production, but it's been good. PFF grades are good. So the thing about TJ Sanders that stands out is even though he's sub 300 pounds, he's very stout and holds up really strongly against the run. So even though he looks like one of these sub-package pass rushing 3-techs, he can bring a little bit more to the table than that. He is also good on stunts. You can send him on stunts, you can send him on twists, and he's good at getting around and getting to where he needs to go and getting to the ball carrier, the quarterback, whatever. Capable of shedding blockers to work to the ball as well. He's pretty good at being able to work through the thicket. Hits hard and generates knockback force. So he's somebody who can really get down and dirty in the trenches. And he's a skilled playmaker against the run as well. You can see that in his relatively impressive playmaking stats. He's averaged, like 2023, averaged nearly 1 tackle for loss a game. So he can make plays against the run as well. Now, I still don't think he's a great pass rusher. I think that he's more like, he gets pressures and sacks on effort. Not really somebody who has a lot of moves or a lot of creative stuff he can do as a rusher. He's a little late off the snap, I feel like. Sometimes he's a little bit slow coming out of his stance. Not very fluid moving in space, which is tough when you're sub 300 pounds. Like, it feels like his lateral agility and his reactive athleticism is a little disappointing for somebody who's smaller. And he does play standing straight up, which is going to be a big problem for him in the pro game. You're not going to be able to hold up stout in the middle when you're playing straight up like that. So TJ Sanders does have a lot to fix in his game as well. But he is fun. He is explosive. I think he'll be able to offer a lot on both sides of it. That should just be defense. So Sanders, I kind of feel like he's a run-stopping 3-tech, kind of like Tyleik Williams. And I feel like if he can learn how to use leverage a little better, he could even be an undersized nose tackle. And I feel like there are some creative ways to use him, like the way the Rams use their defensive linemen might work pretty well. And I think he can shed blockers to work to the ball, even in that role. So I kind of feel the same way about him that I do about Tyleik Williams. So I go late second round. I think that's about right. I think I like him a little bit more than the aggregate, but about as much as the major big boards that I use. And I like it. I like TJ Sanders well enough. Pretty good specimen. All right. I will see you guys later. One more video coming with 3 techs today, and then we'll do some more tomorrow. See you guys soon. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think about this crop. Do you want any of them? And if you do, where do you want them? And I'll see you guys soon.